Come, all who grieve. Come, all who remember. Come, all who seek comfort. Come, all who have experienced joy. Come, all who know love. Come. Welcome into this sanctuary. I am the pastor here at Irvine United Congregational Church, and it is good to be with you as we honor and celebrate the life of our friend and member here at Irvine United Congregational Church, a husband, a father, a grandfather, a great-grandfather, Bill Dietrich. Thank you for being here. I know that in some ways this is a hard place to be, but I know that in so many ways this is the place you needed to be. And so I'm glad that you are here, and I hope that you will feel free to pour out your emotions, to share together in grief and gratitude as we recognize a life of someone well-lived, a partnership of 67 years with this wonderful woman here, Jean, who the story, I know it's going to get told, of not only how they met, but how they married, the story of a lifetime that will be shared as many speakers of the family share these stories today. What an incredible person who has touched our lives with his positivity and his infectious smile. So I hope that you feel free to feel your emotions, whatever they may be, to cry if you need to laugh, I hope, to experience the joy of being in community and the intentionality of connecting with one another. May the Spirit be with you as the love of God surrounds you and gathers you in. At IUCC, we want to make sure you feel like this is your home. For many people today, this is their home. Lots of our church members are here because Bill has had quite an effect upon all of us. But if it is your first time, I want to especially welcome you. I want you to feel this holy space that will gather you in comfort, that it'll feel like a place where you can feel all those emotions and that you feel at home, because this is Bill and Jean's church home and they invite you into it. Let me give you the tour. I get some logistical tours things here. So if you need to use the restroom at any time, you can exit out either of the back doors into the narthex, and from there you will turn left to the restrooms. If you exit this door, you turn right, but do enter back through the narthex doors. This one won't let you back in. If you need, we have a quiet room, traditionally used for children, but if you felt the need to go in there, feel free to do so. We want you to feel comfortable. There will be a service of reception as we gather together following this service, and that'll be at Plummer Hall. There's going to be an opportunity to greet the family and to watch a video that was created about his life and their shared life together, as well as a time with an open mic where you can share some words or share your memories at the table. I'm glad that you were here. I hope that you feel Bill's spirit alive among us in the people who love him and the stories told. I hope you find inspiration in this life, as I already have, and we connect in these moments to realize that he gave so much as he lived with his positive attitude, his gentle smile, his commitment to being present with family and friends. And so as we gather into this time, I invite you into a prayer. Holy, loving, creative and connective God, we come to celebrate the life of Bill Dietrich. We are grateful. Grateful for his life, for the impact he made upon each of us, for the legacy he leaves behind. While his death seemed to have come so quickly, We are grateful that his sickness is gone, knowing that now even death itself is past, and he is embraced into the eternal, into your eternal love that is, was, and always shall be. As we gather in our communal grief, remind us that there is also so much joy at having connected with this positive, kind, thoughtful, humble, patient man. So be with us in our gathering. Offer us your peace that passes all understanding. Root us in your love. Ground us in your strength. In gratitude, we pray. Amen. And now we'll be singing.
Mello and I are going to start this song, and then I will invite you to join us on the refrain for the second and third verses. Great is thy faithfulness, O God, my Creator. There is no shadow of turning with thee. Thou changest not, thy compassions, they fail not. As thou hast been, thou forever wilt be. Great is thy faithfulness, great is thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed
I'm going to be reading 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 1 through 8 and 13, and I love this one. If I speak in the tongues of mortals and of angels, but do not have love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give away all my possessions, and if I hand over my body so that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient, love is kind. Love is not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. But as for prophecies, they will come to an end. As for tongues, they will cease. As for knowledge, it will come to an end. And now faith, hope, and love abide. These three, and the greatest of these is love.
Like many of you, I was shocked to get the call that Bill was in the hospital and death was imminent. We had just celebrated Easter, and I was happy to have gotten this photo of him just as our celebration ended. The look on his face is so Bill. It's that smile that just exudes so much of who he is and his presence. So full of life, really, even as we knew that he was living with cancer. He certainly didn't seem like a man with only days to live. So even though all of us have had some time to process, it still feels like a shock. But in the many conversations I've had with Jean and some of her family, I know that it's a blessing that he didn't have to suffer terribly, that he had his wits about him, that positive outlook on life, and the two of them had spoken at length about what he wanted. The gift of being able to speak so clearly about how you want your life to end and how you want to be surrounded in those final hours. We know that letting go is not easy. It never is. But I hope that you find a sense of peace knowing that he did so on his own terms. Bill amazed me as he navigated his illness. I know this was a frustrating process. His cough went largely ignored, and his diagnosis came slowly. I know I personally was upset and impatient, and I wasn't even on the front lines. I would have imagined that Bill and Jean were too. Now, clearly, Jean expressed some of the frustration that she was experiencing, but not Bill. He was ever upbeat. It wasn't that he accepted his illness with resignation, but he just didn't exude that frustration or that anger that he was absolutely entitled to feel. I actually never saw him without a smile on his face. IUCC member and friend Keith Boyum wrote a beautiful tribute to Bill in our e-newsletter, and in it he highlighted reflections from other IUCCers who are here this morning. They would gather regularly for men's breakfast and the highly spiritual ritual of golf. Keith and his friends experienced the same, saying that Bill's good nature was a role model for others, that he didn't take himself too seriously, and he didn't sweat the small stuff. He barely looked like he was sweating the big stuff. He was the kind of person who was an instant friend, likable, kind, and caring for others. We're going to hear more about his life and the way his family experienced him throughout his many years. My job, of course, is not to tell you his story, but to invite you to reflect on your experiences with him, and to invite you to share those stories with one another, with Jean and the family members who would love to hear it. Like me and his golf buddies, I'm sure that you also found Bill to be this amicable, positive, steady, kind person whose smile brought reassurance and joy. He emanated love without ever even having to say it. His life made an impact, and in telling our stories, we can continue his legacy and live it in our own lives. That's really why we're here today, to share in our communal grief, but also in our celebration and our gratitude for having the opportunity to know this man and be affected by his presence among us. So I hope that you do let yourself feel what you feel. Release any sorrow that you might be holding on to, any of that grief. Recognize that grief doesn't come and go on schedule, and it doesn't end here, that you will continue to feel this loss in a powerful way because you have been loved, and you loved so deeply. Now, I don't proclaim to understand the mystery of life and death, but I do believe that God does not leave us alone in our death, that it can be a release from suffering and all of the earthly pain that any of us have experienced, and then we get enveloped into God's loving arms. That's the image I see. And the passage that Melody read out of Corinthians is usually read at weddings, but time and time again I found it to bring so much comfort at a time such as this, when we are remembering and we are grieving. Because as the Apostle Paul says, everything's going to pass away. All of it. Language, earth, life itself. But love will remain. Love is eternal. And the love that you have felt and given can't die. And now Bill is a part of that. Love transcends it all, even death. So as you hurt and grieve, know it's because you loved this man. And he made an impression upon us, and we're all the better for it. May we find inspiration in his life. May we take that love and let it live in us as a legacy to be more like Bill, with a smile on our face and a willingness to let the small stuff go. Recognizing the gift of life and the presence of each day. The model of journeying life with a partner side by side and investing in communication. There's so much to learn from him, and I know we'll hear more of that in a moment. May you find strength, joy, hope, and the presence of this eternal love, embodied so well in Bill, and now a part of who Bill is eternally. Love. Love experienced in this man. Love we will continue to experience in our very lives. So let us continue with the sharing about the life of Bill Dietrich.
Hi there, I'm Dave Dietrich, Bill's oldest kid, and I did not follow the Miriam rule. So my very good friend Miriam said when you do something like this, you got to read it out loud several times because those tears are going to jump out at you. And I didn't follow that rule, so we will see how it goes. Because I thought this is easy. I'm just talking about his early life and his work, boring. So we'll see how it goes. So first of all, I wanted to have several thank yous. Thank you all for finding your way here on a busy Memorial Day Saturday. Those of you who drove in LA, boy, But we have people from far and wide. Hi, Jack. Michael and David are back there. Okay, all right. Far and wide, New Jersey, Omaha, NorCal, San Diego, Central California. So thank you all for being here. Thank you very, very much. Really like to thank the church. Again, this is their home church. The church staff, Pastor Sarah, Pastor Craig. Pastor Craig, I don't even know where you are, but there he is. Congratulations, you made it. There was a lot of back and forth with the photos and things like that. Another person to thank is my sister Deb, who did a great job as the point person, keeping us all on task and realizing we had a clock ticking. But she and Craig are like this now. So, my brother Doug for shuffling back and forth between Santa Clarita and Mission Viejo many, many times in the past couple of weeks, helping Mom and helping do all the planning. Good job, Doug. My sister-in-law Lori, who constantly keeps us calm and works on all the plans, and you'll see in the other room with the picture board that she made, which is some fabulous pictures. So, also, you're in luck because my nephew Jeremy made what we call choir cookies. So my dad sang in the choir in San Bernardino, and they had to rotate who brought cookies. And so every time that he brought cookies, they were these chocolate ones with powdered sugar, and so they became choir cookies. No pressure, Jeremy. We'll see how you did. And then everybody else in the family for being here as well and contributing. So it's interesting, on Facebook early on, my sister posted that she always called my dad Dad or Daddy, but Doug and I have always called him Father. So what's very interesting is right about now, in the next week or two, as y'all go to Target or Hallmark and you start looking for Father's Day cards, just cruise around and consider how many actually are addressed to Father. It's usually one. There's like 8 million dads and daddy and this and that, and there's one, and it's always sappy, and it's like, oh gosh, okay, well, he's Father, so I gotta buy this Father's Day card. So, but look, when you look at Hallmark, you're gonna be amazed. There's only ever one, but we've always called him Father. So, Father was born in Berwyn, Illinois in December of 1935. Berwyn was a small suburb of Chicago. And they lived there until about halfway through his freshman year, where they moved to Albuquerque. And that's quite a shock. First of all, you have the Midwest to the desert. And then second of all, apparently even in Chicago, his high school was small, and his high school in Albuquerque was massive. So it was quite a culture shock, and he comes in halfway through his freshman year. But apparently he did pretty well because he graduated in 1953 and had a good enough grades that he went to Caltech in Pasadena. So not a dumb guy, not a dumb guy. So he enrolled at Caltech in Pasadena, and he was also in the Air Force ROTC. And though he never admitted to participating, there definitely, even amongst engineers, there were hijinks. So he told me once about at the UCLA games, at halftime in the football games, I don't even know if we still do this, because you go to commercial, so you don't know what's actually happening at halftime. But you hold up all the different cards and it spells out UCLA. So his cronies changed it to spell Caltech on a nationally televised game. So that was pretty cool. I don't know how they pulled that one off. Apparently it was the dark of the night. So also then another time, I guess a bunch of friends took apart a VW and put it back together in somebody's dorm room. So that's what you get when you mix engineers and alcohol, I guess. Who knows? They probably were straight. They probably were totally sober when they did that. They're like, oh, this will be funny. But he swears he was not a participant. So in October of 1956, he met my mom, Jean, on a blind date when she was at UCLA, and they had 5 girls together. I think she makes comments about that later on. So then I'm not going to say too much about that. In 1957, he graduated from Caltech with a degree in mechanical engineering, and he was commissioned in the Air Force as a second lieutenant. Before he was supposed to start, he had a summer internship in 2 different places in New Jersey and Ohio as a liaison between the engineering and the manufacturing departments doing electric turbines. Came back to California for just a week before he had to actually start in the Air Force and to visit my mom and say hi before he had to be on active duty. So came in on the weekend. On about Tuesday, they decided, you know what? Forget about it. We're just going to do it. We're just going to get married right now. So they got married 4 days later on Saturday. Full church, full wedding, full flowers, everything, all the gowns, everything was crazy. I don't know how they pulled that off. And then they headed off to Dayton, Ohio, and father joined the Air Force at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And mom continued on at the University of Dayton to finish her degree. So father was active duty at that base in Wright-Patterson. He was in the industrial engineering department, working on constantly improving the supply depot processes. The Air Force at that time required that he and other officers get their master's degree. Apparently they paid for most of that, so that was pretty good. He would be doing half days as a soldier and half days at school. They also rotated that you had to be the officer of the day at times, so you're the officer in charge of the base on particular days. And one of the times, the United States Secretary of State landed at the base, and that was Father's Day, that he had to be the officer of the day. So no pressure, Secretary of State coming to see your base. I was born in July of 1960, and father ended active duty and finished his master's in industrial engineering in August of 1960. He remained on the base in a new capacity. A little while later, actually very quickly later, we all moved to San Bernardino. He was at Norton Air Force Base in San Bernardino in the procurement department, industrial engineering, and constantly working on improving the processes. And he worked there for several years. TRW is an engineering firm. These days as I drive by Redondo Beach, I don't know if it's still TRW, but forever it was right at that curve in the beach areas on the 405, a big TRW building, and they were working for the government. They had a lot of different projects, and so they hired father. And one of his big projects that went on for years and years was working on the Federal Railway Administration, a study to figure out how they could improve the rail system. And he was based in Redondo Beach for a while, but commuting back and forth from San Bernardino. Yuck. So we were transferred to New York in 1968, and he was working on a project to improve transportation alternatives to JFK. I don't know that one worked out so well. I hear it's hell trying to get to the airport from Manhattan. But I'm not blaming my dad. It was probably all good. We lived in Long Island, New York, and when we were there, my folks made a point of having us go everywhere. So we were all over New England, Niagara Falls, did all the stuff when we were there for 7 or 8 months. We moved back to Redondo, or he got transferred back to Redondo, and we moved to Torrance, and he was still on that railway project for a long time. We were there for 3 years. So what's funny in our life is that those 3 years, I was 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, and Doug was 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade. So I am a fan of the Dodgers and the Lakers, and at the time, the Rams. But we moved to Northern California, and Doug hadn't gotten into sports yet, so he's a Giants fan and a 49ers fan because his junior high and thereafter was up in NorCal. So sorry, Doug, that you were a Giants fan. Say what? So, like I said, father was transferred again up to the Bay Area, and we lived in San Rafael, which is in Marin County, across the Golden Gate from San Francisco. TRW had acquired a transportation company named Duluth Cather, and so that was 1972 when we moved up to NorCal. They worked there for several years, and then in 1979, 6 of those engineers decided to break off and start their own company, DKS. And I've always found this so interesting. There were 2 gentlemen with a last name starting with a D, 2 with the last name starting with a K, and 2 starting with the last name with S. Like, how did that work out? So that was pretty cool. He was in Northern California for quite a long time. He was the oldest, or one of the oldest of the 6, and so anytime that they had planning meetings talking about the future, or what do we do with this cash that we get if we got a big cash installment, and he was always voting for retirement planning. We got to do retirement planning, and the other guys were like, cash, let's go cash right now. I want to buy a new this or that. And Father was always voting, no, retirement planning, we're doing that. So he was involved with lots and lots of different transportation projects. BART is for those of us in SoCal where we don't have any geography, BART is Bay Area Rapid Transit, the whole monorail system that's been years and years and years. He was heavily involved with BART. In San Diego, the trolley system that is still there, Father was the lead on that project. And then I was in his office one day and noticed a picture of Angel Stadium, and they had to redevelop the parking so that you could get in and out of the stadium very quickly. And I'm like, wow, you guys are all over the place, is the kind of things that you do as transportation engineers. So that was interesting to find that out. In 1989 at 5:04 p.m. when Father was sitting at his desk, 5 o'clock, he's a hard worker, so he's bugging out of there at 6 o'clock or something like that. But at 5:04 p.m. In 1989, what's called the World Series earthquake, the Loma Prieta earthquake hit. It was a magnitude, I looked it up, 6.9, so it was a pretty big quake. It was north of Santa Cruz. So in Father's office as an engineer, so all his bookcases with all his engineering books fell over, and he had to climb out over the bookcases to get out. And nearby buildings, the entire facade fell, and it was quite a crazy time. Mom was working in San Francisco, and both of them had a struggle to get back to our home in Marin, but neither of them were hurt, and it was quite a big deal. So in fact, you may also remember that there was a freeway that pancaked. That freeway was his normal route home. So because he was sitting at his desk, though, he was good. So Father retired in 2000, and Mom retired shortly after that. And just like 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, Father reminded me, 25 years. Can you believe it's been 25 years since he retired? So he retired in 2000. So there's a little bit about his life and his work, and my brother is up next with some of the stories. Doug?
Like Dave said, thank you for coming. So Dave covered a little bit about his work life and things, but Father had a very full life outside of work and things like that. So most people after they retire, they slow down. Not everyone. So they have traveled to 23 countries, including Costa Rica, China, Romania, Australia, Russia. When they were in Russia, they could walk freely through Red Square. A week later, they're home, and they're watching television, and there's tanks in Red Square. And you think, oh, dear. Okay? They were season ticket holders for the San Francisco 49ers for 21 years. Dave was not a fan. Including being on the second row in the goal line when Joe Montana threw the catch to Dwight Clark. They were master tailgaters. Fine wine, tablecloths, the whole deal. They did it up. Let's see, he was an avid reader. Always in the middle of a book with another book, waiting for him to finish that. They have lived in Illinois, New Mexico, New Jersey, California, and Florida. They lived in San Rafael for 37 years. Over 20 years, they spent 4 to 5 months in Cathedral City at an RV resort with a golf course and 1,200 individual sites. He was on the finance committee for the resort for 16 years and played golf often. Let's see, they took an 8-week RV excursion in Alaska. They traveled all over in their RV, met many new and interesting friends. They have been to at least 6 presidential libraries. They are life masters in bridge. Wow, that's a bunch. So, needless to say, Father had a very full life. So I have a couple of stories that you may not have heard about Father. So, let's see, I'm maybe 15, 16, and I go to his office on a Saturday to help him input data or do whatever. And we're sitting in a conference room, and we're doing away, and one of his partners comes in. He's all grumpy and this and that, and Father says, dude, what up? Why are you, and he says, well, we're going to have to cancel my rugby game because I don't have enough people, so we're going to have to forfeit. And, we're 1 player short. So without any conversation at all, I hear my father say, oh, Doug will play. I got voluntold that I was going to play rugby with a bunch of angry 40-year-old men. Oh dear, that was quite the day. So now, a couple years later, I'm 16, 17, somewhere in that range, and I got a speeding ticket. Well, when you're not 18, you have to bring one of your parents with you to court. Oh joy. So mom's off doing something else, so I say, oh, that's fine, great. I get father, who has to take off work to go to court. Perfect. So, but I think to myself, well, wait, this is a man who doesn't say 3 words. This will be perfect, okay? No problem. Go in, stand before the judge. The judge and I have a little conversation, okay? It's going great, no problems, we're good to go. So he says, all right, fine, the fine is X dollars, pay the bailiff. I'm walking to the bailiff, getting my checkbook out, okay? And over my shoulder, I hear a voice that's vaguely familiar, and I think, what in the world? I look back, and I hustle back to in front of the judge, just in time for him to say, you're right. I think it would be more effective if we suspended his license. Hand your license to the bailiff. You did what now? So, hand my license to the bailiff. We drive home, and the courtier's not very far from house. Not a word is spoken. What just happened here? Okay, so, well, mom eventually gets back from wherever she was. I say, can you believe what oh yeah, we talked about it. Really? You were in cahoots. Gosh dang it. So anyway, there's just a couple quick stories. So anyway, he was a great man and we're going to miss him. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. I have a little trouble with stairs, so I'm just going to stick here, Jeremy. Thank you. I know there's a ramp, yes, but I'm far away, so we're gonna stay here. I'm Chase. I'm one of Grandpa Bill's many grandkids, and I'm honored to share a few words on behalf of all of us. When I talked to my cousins about Grandpa Bill, one theme came through loud and clear. Each of us felt deeply loved by him. Grandkids, if you ever felt loved by Grandpa Bill, would you mind standing up for a moment? Very good, very good. You may be seated. All right, there it is. That's a whole lot of grandkids to love, but Grandpa managed it in his own unique way. When I think of Grandpa Bill, I picture a man full of quiet wisdom. He wasn't one for a lot of words, but he showed up enthusiastically for trips to Yosemite or to the Jelly Belly factory, for beer factory tours, or for a visit to the Library of Congress. Whatever it was, he was there with joy. I remember when we visited his sister's place in Florida and us grandkids jumped into the pool even though we weren't supposed to because it hadn't been treated yet. We came out with hives due to a chemical imbalance in the water, of course, but Grandpa didn't scold us. He showed patience like he always did. That same trip, we stayed up all night sneaking around the house, and again, no drama, just Grandpa being Grandpa. I remember our trip to Bass Lake when we couldn't get a fish off of the hook and ask Grandpa for help. He grumbled about hating fishing, but he helped us anyways with a smile. Then to my dad's horror, he helped us pack the fish in an ice chest and take it home, which meant Dad got stuck figuring out how to clean them. In gathering stories from the rest of the grandkids, one thing was clear. Grandpa was a silent assassin when it came to board games. Taryn, Joey, Jake, and Jeremy all remember him being a ruthless cribbage master. Melody remembers him crushing her at Uno. I remember him successfully shooting the moon at hearts more often than not. I found out a couple weeks ago, Grandpa would go to CVS and clean them out of Valentine's Day cards and send them to each of the ladies in our family, so just quite a ham. Jeremy fondly recalls the times he just got to silently read a book in tandem with Grandpa. Joey and Jenna told me about a time they got locked out of their camper vehicle on a trip and had to shamefully go to Grandpa's camper to ask him for food. He gladly put down his book to make them lunch. Jake remembers going to a 49ers game with Grandpa, just the two of them, only for Grandpa to realize he forgot the carne asada, one of the few very rare times he saw Grandpa lose his cool. Jenna shared about going to see The Color Purple with Grandpa and grilling him with questions about his life the whole ride back. When Grandma asked how it went, he laughed and said, "Your granddaughter played 20 questions with me the whole way." Taryn remembers the time my brother and I accidentally put a hole in the bathroom wall while wrestling. We were so nervous about telling Grandpa that we set up a walkie-talkie near him and delivered the news like it was a military report. "Red alert, there's a hole in the bathroom wall. Over and out." He laughed and then taught us how to patch drywall. I once asked Grandpa about his journey of faith. He told me about a sermon where it felt like the pastor was speaking directly to him. He knew at that moment that God was calling him. When I recently asked how he was handling his cancer diagnosis, he calmly said he wasn't worried. He felt blessed by his life and by all of us. What mattered most to him was getting Grandma settled into her new home in Irvine so she'd have community when he was gone. That says it all, really. Grandpa Bill was a man who loved deeply and lived for others. I think Melody summed it up beautifully. She said, his hugs were firm, warm, and safe. If you knew Grandpa, you knew he cared, and we'll miss him a lot. But I take comfort knowing that we'll all get to see him again eventually. Love you, Grandpa.
We three kings of Orient are, bearing gifts we traverse afar, field and fountain, moor and mountain, following yonder star. My dad loved to sing, and he loved to sing Christmas carols all year long. He would wander around the house singing We Three Kings and other songs. I found out recently that he also liked to sing while brushing his teeth. And I was so fascinated by that, I had to try it. It is not easy. It is really, really not easy. My dad was involved in theater in high school, and it's not surprising that he worked on building sets, but he also performed on stage, which I thought was really cool. And at Caltech, he was in the Glee Club. When I was born, my family lived in San Bernardino, and my parents were involved in a church there where they made many solid, lifelong friends. And he was in the choir at that church, as you heard, and the choir cookies, how I remember them is standing in the kitchen and forgetting to hold my breath. So as they are fondly called choir cookies, I think of them not so fondly as inhale the powdered sugar and choke cookies, but they were delicious. Speaking of singing and food, my family had a practice of singing grace before dinner. We would sit at the table and hold hands and bow our heads, and Dad would start one of two songs. There was the regular, everyday song, "Evening is here, the board is spread. Thanks be to God who gives us bread. Thanks be to God." Squeeze and release. But there was an alternate grace song that he would throw in there sometimes, and we did not know when it was coming. So we'd be ready for evening, and no, that's not what was happening. So you had to watch a little bit. "For this our daily bread we give thanks, O Lord, in our prayers and lives be thou adored. Amen." Squeeze and release. The day before he died, my brothers and Mom and I stood around him, holding hands just like that. And I sang a song that I'm going to be singing as our benediction. And then I was flooded with the memory of sitting around the dinner table and singing those grace songs. So I sang them for him. Music connects us, and it helped to keep me connected with my parents after I left home. I went to UC Berkeley and then lived in Oakland, and so they got me Marin Symphony tickets with them, and we would go with my mom's mother, Nana, while she was living, and then the three of us would go, and Dad would slip out the side the second it was intermission and make a beeline with his long legs for the bar, where he would be standing with 2 Irish coffees for me and for him when we got there. It was our symphony ritual. We also enjoyed the ritual of the father-daughter dance. When I was in a sorority at Berkeley, he got to come over and we swing danced together. And then at my wedding, I pre-recorded an arrangement that I wrote of You Are My Sunshine for us to dance to. It's a song that he sang to me and my mom so many times as a child. Over the years, my parents have supported me in my many singing endeavors, so I was really happy to return the favor when I found out that my dad was singing in a concert at the outdoor RV resort in Cathedral City. It was just awesome to see him beaming while singing with his friends. It was beautiful. In music, there are moments of silence. We call them rests. You can feel the beauty of the music before and after a rest more profoundly because of it. In the same way, the space in our hearts and lives where my dad was has become a rest. We no longer hear the sound of him, but his resonance gives beauty and meaning to what was and what is to come. Oh, star of wonder, star of night, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us to thy perfect light. Rest in peace, Dad.
Thank you all for coming. So, I've been in the family for almost 39 years, but we had the opportunity to have Jean and Bill's 50th wedding anniversary, and at that point, Jean wrote a most beautiful tribute. They didn't renew vows, but they wrote to each other how they felt after 50 years of marriage. And Jean is going to read that to you.
Hopefully. Bill, when we were in college and I was being fixed up with a blind date, I wasn't too enchanted about the idea. All I asked for was someone tall. God gave me far more than I asked. It's going to be a hard thing. He gave me you. For over 50 years, you have brought me immeasurable joy.
67 and a half.
With that tall body is a man I have loved deeply, respected right from the start, and have been nourished by in so many ways. Not only have you been a tender lover, good provider, and a wonderfully handy man around the house, you have been my confidant and friend. We often laugh about how I solve my problems. I talk to you and you listen, nod, and make an occasional listening comment. You usually don't give an opinion unless I specifically ask, but somehow I find the answer in the silence. However, at times when I really need your counsel, you are a huge help. You have such good common sense, are very perceptive and trustworthy. I know I can believe what you tell me. I couldn't have asked for a better man to be the father of our children. You've been a wonderful example for them. With your honesty, strong work ethic, many abilities, your intellect, and the way you use it, you have taught them about being responsible human beings. You have shown them that God is at work in your life as we have worshiped together. Bill, your even disposition makes you so easy to live with. You really enjoy life, have grown and changed as our lives and the culture have changed, and many of our friends have found that culture change difficult. You have good sense of humor and playfulness when we are together. One of the things I like most is hearing you sing all around the house, in the shower, as you work, and even as you're brushing your teeth. Here we go again. And your repertoire is definitely varied. Christmas carols in April, June, and August are wonderful. And dear one, after all these years, I am like the person in the song, Some Enchanted Evening. My heart still leaps when I see you across a crowded room. You're all I ever wanted in a husband. I feel truly blessed.
First off, I want to say how impressed I am that you all spoke so eloquently, thoroughly, and timely. So good job. We're getting close to the end of our service, and I invite you now into a time of prayer. After I finish praying, we're going to say the Lord's Prayer, and I know that many people know this prayer, but many people know it with different words. And so say the version that feels right for you, and then we'll close together, and Deborah will gift us with the benediction that she wrote. Pray with me. Holy, holy, holy God, we are grateful people. We are delighted by the life of Bill Dietrich. We mourn, we cry, we laugh, we give thanks. We're grateful that now sickness is over and his spirit lives on in us. For the life and partnership of these 67 and a half years, for the lives that came out of that partnership and the way they continue to give of themselves as they share in the spirit that he gifted them and they continue on. We're grateful for our own experiences and that which we have learned from Bill. And now as we close this time together, we recognize that there's no way to close this chapter, but we will live the story in a new way. With your presence ever with us, we thank you for his presence and its continued imprint upon our lives. In your name and the name of your Son, we join together in the prayer he taught us. Our Creator, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Deborah will be sharing in the benediction and song, but before we do, we want to thank all of you for being here and invite you once more to join us in a reception. We're so grateful to our members of our congregational care ministry who have helped to set that up, and will be sharing that with you. And may the peace of God go with you. May you feel it in the song and in the rest, and always in the love.
Sorry for that. There we go. That'll do. This is for all of you, as well as my dad. May all your days be filled with grace and beauty, and all your nights fly swiftly toward the dawn. May God's great love go with you on your journey, and her spirit be in your song. When troubles fall like rain upon your shoulders, when sorrow comes and bends you like a bow, remember this: I never will forget you. My heart goes with you wherever you go. And may the Lord bless you and keep you. May He make His face to shine upon you and give you peace, and give you peace forever and evermore. Now go with God, go in God's care, and until we meet again, I leave you with this prayer. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May He make His face to shine upon you, and give you peace, and give